feisty little firecracker just like myself, if not more so. Matter of fact, passionate, excited, enthusiastic about recovery, has been through hell or high water and has stayed sober and continue to be of service and practice these principles in all our affairs. Oh, Lord of Jesus, have mercy. I'm excited to hear your experience, strength, and hope tonight, because I know you have a lot of it. So everybody, please help me welcome, I believe, my trudging buddy, Katie Parker. Come on up.
Thank you. I'm Katie Parker. I'm alcoholic. I got to tell you, Teresa and I are Thelma and Louise. Okay, if you're ever wondering, Thelma and Louise going over the I guess it was the dead end of a mountain, but we have served together on many podiums and had a ball, and we are exactly alike. So, if you ever get in a pinch, just call either one of us in and we'll kick some serious ass. I got to tell you, once again, Ollie, thank you for this invite. I am unable to say no to Ollie. I told him earlier, it's like I'm in a blackout. This is the night of my home group and I chair the meeting. So I was like, I had told him yes. Then I spoke in Toronto and we had lunch together and he said, Katie, you are still, speaking on Tuesday. And I said, when did I say yes to that? And he told me, and I thought, well, son of a gun, it's in my phone. I guess, yes, I am. So, Ollie, this is it, buddy. I can't surrender Tuesday again. I'm always honored. It's a huge privilege to come to this meeting. I hate that it's on the night of my home group, but thank you for asking me. I've been sober since October the 28th of 1984. This year, October 28th, I will celebrate 40 years of recovery. That is mind-blowing to me. I swear I'm like blown away that I have 40 years. Where did it all go? I love that we are able to share our experience and what our paths look like, because everybody has just a different experience in their path. My home group is the Primary Purpose Group. We study the book line by line in Austin, Texas at 7:30 on Tuesday nights at Faith United Methodist Church, which is now called the Austin New Church. But if you ever get a chance, come on by. So many people come into that meeting and visit with us. It's really just wonderful. We study the book line by line and we talk about what the founders found necessary in the book. Interesting way to learn the book, a little bit different than an open discussion meeting. My husband, Charlie, always liked to say I was a little bit like taking a drink out of a fire hose. I'm a lot coming at you. And that's just accurate. I like to say I'm not the power. I'm merely the vessel to get you connected to the power. That I can help you with. I don't want to be the power. I don't want to tell you, what boy to date, what car to buy, what job to take. I do think I know what boy to date, but we'll leave it at that. And so the truth is I want to help you get connected to the power so the power can answer those questions. Just very briefly, I was 26 years old. I chased a boy into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. He had 6 years. I had a 5-year-old daughter who I absolutely love. My daughter she was an anchor. That's how it was. I treated her like that. She just stood in the way of me and drinking. I was a single mom. And I know pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. You can't help it when you look in the eyes of a kid when you're just drunk all the time, loaded all the time. And so I like to qualify by saying when I start, I can't stop, and I can't stop starting. It's interesting. I moved into this room and a buddy of mine took a picture. He had me yesterday or day before I did another talk, and he took a picture of it. His daughter walked in and it was up on the TV, and he said, Dad, is that Miss Katie? And he sent me the picture and I thought, oh my God, my head is this big and my glasses are this big. So I have moved away from the screen and I put on a different pair of glasses. I'm like, oh, that was just a lot of noggin coming at you. Dr. Bob says he made a statement that I think is profound and it's got a lot of legs to it. He said that the directions are clear cut, but everybody has a different experience. And I think, not that I'm here to find anything wrong with Alcoholics Anonymous, but I think a lot of things are misunderstood. So it's not right or wrong. My gosh, I was all over the place for many, many years. And today I'd like to think I have settled on some clear guidance, but I misunderstood a lot of stuff. And I think sometimes people call me and they say, Katie, I was just wondering if you've ever had experience with this. And I understand what the purpose of that means. Sexual abuse as a child, physical abuse, those things are horrific. Those things need specific people to talk to them. But the rest of life falls under a lot of what the book is telling us and what the guidance of the book is, right? That's all we need is the guidance of the book. So I don't have to have been divorced to talk to you about divorce. I don't have to have been fired to talk to you about fired. That's the kind of thing I think we get lost in. Spiritual growth comes like maturity. So in your 20s, you're bulletproof. In your 30s, you start trying to define your life. In your 40s, you start looking back and seeing what you think about it, which, by the way, I think I'm 66. The 40 decades were clearly the best. Not that 66 is not bad, but the skin I could just do without. So you got your 40s and your 50s, you start really chilling out. And in your 60s, you're looking back and it's not, life is just not a big deal most of the time. Well, spiritual growth comes the same way, except it comes in the fives. So I think it's 0 to 5, you have an experience. 5 to 10, you have another experience. 10 to 15, another experience. And what tends to happen is the gifts of sobriety take you away. So around double digits, 10 years, you will watch people crash and burn, and they don't know what's happening. They didn't pick up a managing their life so much that everyone is bugging the crap out of them. And what used to work at 3 years doesn't work at 5 years. What used to work at 5 years doesn't work at 10 years. And that's what I'm talking about. So, Mark was really big about saying, turn statements into questions. Ask yourself, has that been your experience, or have you just coasted since you were 5 years sober? I think it's necessary for spiritual growth to hit walls. This is an 11th step talk, which I love, because you got to kind of add on the front end of it before you jump into the 11th step, so you kind of understand what you're looking for. I think it's easier to get an alcoholic to stop drinking than it is to get one of us to quit playing God. That's the hardest role in the whole wide world. Alcohol was the solution, not the problem. Alcohol is the only thing that treated the pain of living my life on self-will, self-reliance, right? It says, you got to understand that third step. Once again, I took most of the steps off the wall. So it said, turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood him. That's the third step. Let's do it. Hit your knees. I didn't understand what the root of my problem was. It says in the third step that the first requirement is that Katie's got to be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. On that basis, I'm almost always in collision with somebody or something, even though my motives are good. I'm like, what? Who would want to surrender self-will? I mean, I'm telling you what, if I laid out my whole life, you would go, no way. Yeah, yep, way. I left home at 15. The principal still let me go to school. I graduated. I cheated through school. I got jobs nobody thought I could get. It was unbelievable what I was capable of pulling off. And when somebody explained self-will, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. You guys might need to, but I don't have the selfishness and self-centered you talk about, right? So the way self shows up behind a kind motive is you hold a door for somebody, which apparently has become a male-female thing. It's just common courtesy, people. It has nothing to do with who's holding the door. But you hold a door for somebody, you expect them to say thank you. Or they just bust on through and you're like, wow, what the heck was that? In traffic, you let somebody in, right? You give them the wave and come on in, and you expect one of these. Not that. Or you're on the hike and bike trail and you see a plastic bottle and you pick it up, throw it away. But when you pick it up, you kind of pose. I'm the giver. I'll go throw it away. See, these are subtle little ideas to watch for it. But I don't realize behind a kind motive that this is what I'm getting myself in trouble with. And the third step, what I call the second surrender, is selfishness and self-centeredness that we think is the root of our trouble, right? Do you believe that? I'm driven by so many forms of fear, it would be too difficult to figure it out, right? I don't think too much of myself or too little of myself. All I think about is me, right? Self-centered fear. I'm scared to death. I'm not get it. Now I'm scared to death I'm going to lose it. I never lost the fear. And the book warns me I'm going to get angry and afraid. I don't have the freedom to stay there. The book is always implying trouble, right? It's always implying trouble. And it talks about those mere code of morals or better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism. Many of us would have recovered long ago. Somebody just saying, well, doggone it, I'm just not going to be as selfish. I'm just going to be a giver. And then before you know it, you're resentful at everybody. And the book is talking about a lot about different ways that it's not, it's a dilemma, right? Page 25 says, blot out our intolerable situation or accept spiritual help. Intolerable situation. Take a minute to think what's intolerable in your life. Crushed by a self-imposed crisis I couldn't postpone or evade. God's either everything or he's nothing. These are two very bad situations. And then page 133, the deliberate manufacturing of misery. God didn't do it, but when trouble comes, cheerfully capitalize on it so he can show his omnipotence. That is not a good day. You see, it's either it sucks here or accept God. They both don't look good when you're in trouble. If I need $200 by tomorrow, I'm not going to just go, boy, God can figure out how I can get that $200. I'm going to start pawning some stuff. And see, that's not good, bad, right, wrong. That's just something I have to look at. Now, granted, I'm older, I'm wiser. I've got a lot of spiritual work behind me. So when trouble comes, I can pause most of the time. Currently, with my current situation, having lost Charlie, I've not lost it, which is a big deal. But boy, have I wanted to in my head. I mean, what the verbiage in my head has been very challenging, and yet it hasn't come out. So I'm giving myself an A. Check. There's something that I like. There's a direct link among self-examination, meditation, and prayer. So you really can't talk about 11 without talking about 10, right? Because you got to know what you're taking into 11. Taken separately, they can bring much relief and benefit. But when they're interwoven, the result is an unshakable foundation of life. I like to talk briefly about, I think a lot of people do on awakening, because I did this myself. I talked to enough people in the country that it's a pretty majority. We just want to sit in prayer and meditation, read a couple of cool spiritual books, and then maybe do a 3-minute breath work and rock on. And that's a good practice, except that's a chicken soup for the soul type practice. The book is trying to get us to understand that I must take yesterday into today. I have to take the good, the bad, the right, the wrong into today. And in the 10th step, it talks about it's easy to let up on this spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. Very easy. That's the only time it says something that's easy. And it says we're headed for trouble if we do. Alcohol is a subtle foe. Subtle means crafty. And don't lose sight on what that's a straight up warning. It says, is he, in the 3rd step, it says, is he not a victim of the delusion that he can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if he only manages well? Well, victim is I'm tricked or duped by my delusional mind, and I can seize by force, right? Wrest that satisfaction about being right. People say, would you rather be right or happy? Well, first of all, I'd like to slap you when you say that when I got a big problem. But if you want to know the truth, I want to be right. And if happiness follows, lucky me. I mean, that's just being honest. Now, that's not what you see me do. I'm completely different when I'm showing up. But what's going on up here is a whole nother ballgame. And I love the word delusion. It says we're tricked. We're a victim of our own delusion. It says an impression that is firmly maintained despite being contradicted by what is accepted as reality, typically a symptom of a mental disorder. I mean, those are my people. That's all I can say. It says the 10th and 11th. Now think about this. The idea of watching for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear is much different than waiting for it to show up. This is a difficult practice. We're trying to get into watching the mind, right? Watch for resentment, dishonesty, selfishness, and fear. And when these crop up, so we're watching for it, not waiting for me to step on somebody's toes. This practice is so difficult. I encourage people to just do it for an hour. Don't go past an hour. Don't think, I'm going to start watching from here on out. It won't happen. You'll fall back asleep and dream you're awake. You just won't. It's a very difficult practice. It's right up there with somebody saying, I need to lose 30 pounds. So I'm going to eat good. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start getting, get sleep, blah, blah, blah. All of it's going to be a failure. You have to just eat a meal right now. That's it. If you're going to the gym at 6 o'clock, don't think about that till you're getting ready to go to the gym. It's got to be broke down. And that's the whole point of the steps, is to get us to try to stay in the moment, right? Oh, well, there's my dog. The promise, and the cat just shot under the bed. Wait, I think somebody's here. It's like, well, isn't that just great? Okay, so the promise is that we begin to sense the flow of his spirit into us. To some extent, we become God conscious. Though I remember those two words together, I didn't understand it. It was like I was speaking Swahili, or someone was talking to me speaking Swahili. God consciousness, I mean, can we call it good consciousness? Sure. Whatever works for you to get this process started. It talks about our thought life will be placed on a higher plane, right? We begun to develop this vital sixth sense. We had it drunk and sober. You knew drinking. Don't go. Don't get behind the wheel of that car. We heard that voice. See, God loves us no matter what. Period. That's it. I won't surrender the God. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I call it God. And this thought life and God conscious life are two very interesting things to consider, because my thought life is constantly running. My God conscious is when I bring God into this situation and begin the process of understanding, what is my thinking? What's going on here, God? Redirect my thinking. So this 11th step, if you take it off the wall, you may misunderstand it like I did. That's why I said when we retire at night, because I think 3/4 of Alcoholics Anonymous think the 10th step is the evening review. And I could give you the 9 reasons why I think that happened. I thought it was too, and I wasn't doing it anyway. So don't hear me judging anybody. I mean, I remember somebody having an argument in a meeting that the 10th step is this the evening review. And I'm thinking, who cares? We're not doing it anyway. Come on. I mean, that was my AA for a good 17 years, right? So the 11th step in the book suggests prayer and meditation. Now, I don't think meditation in the 30s was what meditation is today, but be it what it is. The dictionary for meditation was use an example like a general meditates the war for the next day. He's making sure that all his equipment is in place, that his men are in the right place. He's considering what's going on in that day. I don't know that it's the sit quiet and levitate. If you do that practice, that's totally fine. I don't think that's what the book's talking about. Well, you get to add anything into your 11th step that you want, but we're talking prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than us are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. Well, now that attitude is a pretty powerful word in the book. On page 55, it says we can only clear the ground a bit if our testimony helps sweep away prejudice. Now think about that. We agnostics is not so much about trying to get us to understand about this religious God. It's trying to get us to look at our prejudice. Watch yourself throughout this talk, what you agree and what you disagree with me. Now keep it to yourself, but that's what we do, is when somebody's talking, we just judge it the entire time. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing to be aware of. So it says, if our testimony helps sweep away prejudice, enable you to think honestly, which would allude to the fact that maybe I can't think honestly. What would be the opposite of that? And then encourage you to search diligently within yourself. That's the swallowing and digesting large chunks of truth about yourself. One of the coolest things about our steps, it tells us when to take them, how to take them. I mean, this is a textbook. It's not designed to be sat down and read. It's designed to be studied and follow the directions. My buddy Blind Dave does this really cool thing with the 3-tier fountain. And the top tier is your evening review. Your second tier is on awakening. And your third tier is the 10th step, the drama of life, right? And the water comes out and it flows to the evening review. It goes into on awakening and it comes down to the drama of life. If you stick your finger in the hole where the water's coming out, everything stops, which tells you that the evening review, I think, is the most important thing to do. It just gives us too many questions that we have to stay accountable to. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Constructively is a powerful word. It doesn't just say we review our day. They want you to spend a little bit of time, 15 minutes. I think pen to paper is the magic that happens there. Don't underestimate pen to paper. This texting and apps and stuff, not a fan of it. And I will stand firm on that. As a matter of fact, don't even bring that to my attention. I disagree with it. Pen to paper is magical and spiritual. It says where were we? Resentful, selfish, dishonest, and afraid. Where, what, why? What did I do? What was I thinking? And I like to write just some one-liners about that, not just a yes or a no. Do I owe an apology? Maybe I do. You know, you don't want to fall on your sword all the time going back, cleaning stuff up. I'd like to do it in the moment. Have we kept something to ourselves which should have been discussed with another person? Right there is the 10th step, right? Did you do a 10th step? And then there's 5 more questions. I also caution people on don't answer all those questions for months on end. Make it more personal, because prayer and meditation, on awakening, evening review get very stale if you're not careful. And I think it gets stale in about 6 weeks. So you've got to start kind of adding a different spiritual teacher in your literature, not every 6 weeks, but maybe another book that they wrote. Start to read a paragraph, ask yourself what each line means to you. You must study these things. It's really, really something so personal. And I'm a huge fan of studying. I love Emmett Fox. I don't know why he spoke to me. Thomas Merton didn't touch me. Eckhart Tolle, not even close. But everybody's unique. So if they touch you, man, rock on, stick with them. It also goes on to say there's a warning, but we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, and morbid reflection, because that'll make me feel bad. No, it's not useful. Diminish your usefulness to others. This is so important. Oh, well, there it goes. So this is where when it's just you, it's like, okay, it's me and the dog. The dog's going to go have to answer the door. So then it talks about these corrective measures, God's forgiveness. We have to be careful not to just take that and go, God's forgiveness. So Sponsi and I were talking about that today. She said it 3 times. She goes, and I asked God's forgiveness. And I go, you're saying that kind of like, pass the ketchup. What's that look like? And when she finally started seeing that, she goes, wow, I really am just making that a formality. Check it off the list. We all go through that. That's why we help each other so much. She can do something that I know exactly what's going on because I just did it. So we're looking for these corrective measures to take when we're doing this evening review. And then it says on awakening, right? So on awakening, it gives us clear-cut directions. And I like to start my on awakening. I caution you to be very careful not to look at your phone. I use the Insight Timer app, and I have to be very careful to just open it, and that's it. If I scroll the top down where it says who's emailed you, who's texted you, I'm dead in the water. Man, I miss that brief moment of time to not do anything but be me and God. On awakening, 3-minute breath right then. And then it says we consider our plans for the day. I like to do 3 pads. Now, once again, I get to tell you my practice. You don't have to take it, but it's nice just to have something thrown out there for you to look at and consider. So I got the 1 pad that's my evening review that's going to have my corrective measures on it, right? And then I have a 2nd pad that is my to-do list, because I don't care who you are. If I think, oh my God, I got to remember to go by and get laundry detergent, that can derail my entire meditation. So I just put laundry detergent, set it aside, back to focus. So I have a to-do list over there to just get that stuff out of my mind so it's not bogging me down while I'm trying to get connected. And then my on awakening is I've turned it into love letters. So I write a love letter to God. It's the 2-way prayer concept that Bill Wigmore does a beautiful job at teaching. I've just condensed it for my own personal use, which I hope that's what you do with anything I suggest. Make it yours, because this is designed to be you and your creator. You got Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, whatever you want. Throw yourself into it, mix it all up, get it all. I typically lean towards Christianity, but I love Michael Sawyer, I think it is, The Untethered Soul. It's all about spiritual principle, and spiritual principle to me is what it's all about. Spiritual laws have changed my life, and I don't have the time to read them, but in Emmett Fox Around the World with Emmett Fox, it's from January 26th, I believe, to the 31st, are all the laws, or you can email me and I can send them to you. I've got them typed up. So it's talking about these love letters to God. So I decide what I'm going to call God. I call God Father God. He calls me my child. Dear one, you can do whatever floats your boat. And you can say, dear spirit, whatever it is. And then I just start writing that love letter to God about my mind. And let me tell you something. I am in a challenging spot right now. It's a lot of things are going on in my life, very difficult decisions needing to be made. And I'm having a really tough time, and I'm in a very flat spot. That has not been the way it has since I lost Charlie, but right now that's how it is. And I'm definitely scared, but I know because I'm old enough and I've been sober long enough that I'm taken care of. But I'm just a little scared, and I've got to make some decisions, and I'm asking for an intuitive thought or decision, and then I'm relaxing and taking it easy during prayer and meditation. And this love letter's got it beautifully. And then when I'm out of the love letter, I typically read a piece of Emmett Fox. He just, like I said, he speaks to my soul. And, paragraph, go back through, ask yourself what each line means to you. That's how you study. Don't just read a page. You just read for knowledge. And then I write my love letter back from God. And he always, it's so profound. It's a completely audibly different voice. It is so clear, the voice of God. And I just let the pen write. I don't even think about it. And I have people do this practice. You can be blocked and you'll still hear the voice of God. And then after I'm done, I open Jesus Calling. I like to just open it to a page. I've never liked to follow April 2nd. So I just open it to a page, and he affirms exactly what I wrote. I mean, to the point to where by this point now, I'm crying. I'm so connected to my creator, even though I feel lost and hopeless at times. I'm still deeply connected because I don't ever surrender 10th step on awakening evening review. I don't surrender those, but it took me years to get into that. I don't have 2 kids running around. I don't have to be out the door at 6 a.m. There's a lot of things that come into your life that derail this stuff. So be easy on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't not do it. I don't care if you're at work and then you have 15 minutes for a coffee break. Go sit in your car, listen to some quiet music, try to connect the best you can. And then throughout the day, it's Charlie loved this phrase, PARS. It's a spiritual gift. Pause, ask, remind, and say. When I'm agitated or doubtful, and today in life, I'm way more doubtful than I am agitated. Should I do this, Father God? What's your direction? If I hear nothing, I'm to do nothing. Or I listen. So if you ask, you must watch. See, these two must go together. People are like, I've been praying the whole time for it. Well, I think you might be praying and falling back asleep. You got to pray and watch, watch your thinking, watch your surroundings. All of these people in the world, my life and me and theirs, for a reason. I try to have conversations with everybody I'm by. I do a hike and bike trail thing. I love my hike and bike. Me and the dog, every morning we do our little deal. And the guy that comes by at the city of Austin and empties the trash can. Thank you so much for that, man. Without you, we'd be lost. Now, I don't say that to him. I just say, hey, buddy, thanks. Right. But to me, I don't know that anybody on that trail thinks about that. We've been given this incredible second chance in life. Take it with zeal. Talk to strangers, return calls, get to know people in your home group. This is a world you don't want to miss. If you're feeling flat, study a vision for you. That is what this is all about. This is going to take the place of all that ho-hum stuff. People go, oh, I've got an anxiety disorder. Oh, I'm just pushing the room. Boy, I'm right. One girl said that at the International one time. She wouldn't walk in the big room. She goes, I didn't even know who she was. I go, what's going on? She goes, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I mean, I just got behind her and pushed her, and she's doing this number, And then she got in there. I go, now that wasn't so bad, was it? And she goes, no, it really wasn't. Now, thank God she didn't have a nervous breakdown right then. And then I'd have felt terrible. But, 9 out of 10 times it does go well and nobody's going to the hospital or being arrested. That's a good thing. Now, I want to read these things. I told myself I'm saving 5 minutes. I'm a huge fan of affirming. So when I watch my thinking, I tap the brakes. God, I'm not willing to believe this delusional lie. And then I affirm something positive because of spiritual law. I believe so strongly in it. So if you are estranged from your family and you want to get this relationship back together, you have to affirm that this is happening. We have a great relationship. People go, well, I don't believe it. I don't care. You don't have to believe it. You just have to do it. So I've got enough time to read these too. I get thousands of letters of people. And I said, you got to affirm every morning and every night and throughout the day when you're thinking about it, because families are destroyed, right? So it says, Katie, I can't tell you what an impact your experience, strength, and hope has made on me. We talked about the power of positive affirmative prayer. I shared with you my situation with my youngest son that's been estranged from the family. I took your suggestion and prayed each and every day and night and morning. The past New Year's Eve, I had my entire family, 2 sons, 2 daughter-in-laws, 3 grandchildren, and my husband at my dinner table together for a family dinner. This was exactly what my positive affirmation was. I visualized this scene in my head for more than a year. The event that led up to this were all God placed and centered in love. I used the counsel of others and let God take over. We are now a family again, and my husband and granddaughter and myself are going to Tucson in April for a visit. We were invited. Yes, there is still work to be done, but the door is open. In a short period, this happened in a year period of time. This is amazing stuff that happens. Families reunite. That's what this is all about, is families reuniting. This one was mind-blowing, what happened. It says, I hear your description of positive prayer and wanted to start trying it. It started about 2 weeks ago. I was at the point of starting to do it in the morning and during my prayer and meditation time. Wait a minute, let me back up. To say my husband's ex-wife and I had a strained relationship would be the understatement of the year. She hated me and she had every right to. Now, they're in a very small town. At 90 days sober, my husband and I got together when they were still married. A little bit of a problem there. My husband could not stay sober, so there were very long, drawn-out custody fights, screaming arguments, restraining orders. There isn't enough time in the day to describe the hell we've all gone through. She remarried a year later, and we did, and it seemed about 5 years since this all started. We are all in AA in a very small town, and they have refused to be a part of anything we are a part of. Would not be at the same meetings, would not contribute to anything we were involved in, etc. I started the positive prayer 2 weeks ago, praying that we had a healthy relationship. We were able to talk about his 2 daughters. I could share experiences with the girl and with her, and we'd work together as a unit to raise the girl. Last Sunday, my husband got a call from his ex-wife asking for us to come and visit the girls at their house. We went, and her husband apologized for drawing a line in the sand with us, looking on us as evil, and realized the harm it was doing to everyone and the girls. They wanted us to all get together for everyone's sake, especially the girls, so they could see that we all get along. She and I exchanged emails all last week. She even called me on Sunday and asked if I would help her put together a little celebration for 2 women in AA. It absolutely brings me to tears every time I think about it. This has been a huge, huge struggle in my life for the past 5 years, and God wiped it out in 2 weeks. The power of God is just absolutely mind-blowing. I know we still have a journey ahead, but this is a great beginning. I just needed to share my miracle with you. Please keep doing what you're doing. You are touching countless lives of little girls who don't even know who you are. Thank you. I'm telling you guys, this is a simple, simple practice that yields unbelievable things. You won't believe it. I'm never going to ever be able to speak to my sister again. She hates me. I get it. We're going to affirm that you guys have amazing relationship. The law of substitution and the law of subconscious activity are in effect. See, when there's turbulence in your mind, it's very muddy waters. But when it's calm, it's much clearer and you can see. You start to bring to a different place. in our book, it says when Ebby was talking to Bill, my friend promised that these things were done, I would enter upon a new relationship with my creator. What a great thing, right? That I would have the elements of a way of living which would answer all my problems. Belief in the power of God plus enough willingness, honesty, and humility to establish and maintain the new order of things were the essential requirements. I say thank you, God, and thank you, Bill Wilson. It's been a real honor and a privilege. Thank you for having me.
Who's doing the recording?
Hey, thank you, Teresa. Thank you so much for a beautiful share, Katie. John, alcoholic. V, welcome in. Come on in.
Hi, my name is Vonna. I'm an alcoholic. Let me see if I can turn my camera on. Oh, a little bit, I guess. Okay. Thank you for your share. Thank you for coming. Just real quick, I'm at that 5-year to 6-year mark, and I'm at that place, where I just don't want to read anymore. I don't want to, I'm tired. And sadly I just started to make this a part of my life, like writing and doing inventory and doing the morning prayer. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm so tired. I just don't want to do any of this. What was do you recall getting to that place and what it was that I guess pulled you out for you? It might not be the same for me, but I'm just wondering what it was for you. And also, can you repeat you mentioned the positive prayer?
Mhm.
Can you repeat what that was? Thank you.
Sure. That's a really good question, because like I said, you hit these walls. These walls are required for spiritual growth, just like growing up, right? In our 20s, we're bulletproof. Well, by the time I'm 50, I'm not running up on a ladder getting on the roof, right? You climb up a ladder, you look down, you go, oh, I'm going back down. It's just the nature of it. So when you hit these walls, instead of looking at them as, I just dread this, you have to cheerfully capitalize on it and know that God is going to show his omnipotence if we stay disciplined. So my question would be, and without you and I getting in great dialogue, I'd be curious to know what your spiritual teacher is, what your understanding of this power greater than yourself is, and you're going to have to start to dig a little bit deeper in there. Do you have enough sponsees? Is your whole program working the way it needs to? And lots of times prayer and meditation get very flat. They just do. And I've been an athlete all my life. So, if I did the same thing at the gym every day, it would get very flat. So I have to realize, I'm sorry, I ate right before I sat down. So I have to realize I have to change these things up so that I've got, your evening review, you can do it in the morning. Make your, do you scribble out inventory quickly? I like to write a piece of inventory, see that I'm a hypocrite, and I get freedom right away. But those love letters to God are a good way to start launching you into something different. And send me a message, and I'll send you my phone number, and we can talk a little bit more, because that's a tough spot to be in, but there's hope at the other side of it, I promise. But it's kind of well-rounded. Several things are going on at 5 years.
Great question. Beautiful answer. Thank you, Katie. Come on in, Jamie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie, and I am an alcoholic. Katie P., thank you so much. You motivated me to share and just ask a question and let you know that I'm getting a lot out of this, my Taco Tuesday, I call it, night with you all. I'm walking with God now, right? I'm in the spirit. I'm living in the spirit. God is my employer. I'm not making, my life, I'm not living in the wreckage anymore. I'm healing. I love what you said about the families. I think that it's very important to heal those relationships if you can. I met my sister all the way because she wouldn't meet me halfway, and now we're best friends.
Oh,
But it's not for everyone, right? And it doesn't, but there's a reason God brought families together for a reason. And, so anyway, my question to you is how you use your zeal. I read this book recently, and one of the 12, I'm not religious, one of the 12 gifts is zeal. And zeal is spirit. It says silent, still. It is ever urging you onward to awareness of your God self. And so my question to you, Katie, is how do you practice your zeal in your day-to-day life and share it?
well, that for me is really easy. I'm extremely outgoing and I talk to everybody. So did Charlie. We couldn't make it through an airport without talking to 8 million people. And I am such a firm believer that every person in my circle, right, wherever I am, grocery store, wherever, God put them there for a reason. For me to say something like, I like that hat, or what a cool t-shirt, or something to engage somebody. And before you know it, you walk away and some people are like, well, I'm somewhat antisocial. Oh, well, that should work well for you then. Yeah, let's try to figure out the gift you've been given and you're antisocial. Well, I talk all day at work and I don't want to talk after that. Well, you see, you've set yourself up completely for failure. Just try the next time you're out and about and you see somebody, strike up a conversation. You're standing in line. I mean, people are looking at their phones, they're looking at their feet. We are losing so much to these phones. And now I won't interrupt you if you're on your phone. I just won't do that. I'm not going to try to change the world one person at a time. But I do, it's not lost on me that my life is a gift, and I like to share my gift with everybody. So that's my zeal.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Mhm.
Come on in, brother.
Hello, everyone. My name's Calvin. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you. And a few years back, I'm talking about 8 or 9 years, a while back, I heard you in New Jersey, right? You was at the Jersey Shore Roundup, you and Charlie. And I heard you say something that touched my soul. And you said that because, like some people are real quiet, inverted, they don't say much, and some people extroverted, they say a lot, they talk. And you said it's all right to be either one of them people. And that touched my soul deeply because I always thought I got to be humble and I got to put down my, head. And that ain't who I'm wired. I'm not wired like that. I'm wired a lot like you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm outgoing. I say things. I talk. I interact with people. And you gave me a reason to be comfortable in my own skin, to be who I was. And,
Well, when you were sharing about, having people come on down, I thought I'd have drank with him. And that's the highest compliment in Alcoholics Anonymous. I would have drank with you. You're my kind of guy. It's like, let's go, let's burn it down. And I thought that right away, just you put out, speaking of the zeal, you put out that zeal. See, and that we're gifted with that. Not everybody is, but I always say, man, find it. You got it. Just don't stay closed in that box and put your phone down. You're standing in a line, put your phone down. You don't have to just stay glued to that thing. It's gonna short circuit your spiritual growth, if you ask me. That's my opinion. But
Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Calvin.
Calvin, did you have something else? I'm sorry, I kind of
real
cut.
fast, just real quick. I don't want to take up, and I know it's a lot of people behind me, but you had said something back at that time. You said, where a place where you've experienced God visited often. I never forgot what you had said. You touched my soul that deeply. Thank you, Katie. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks. That always is great to hear.
Come on in, John. Welcome.
I think you're, oh, sorry, John. I'm doing your job. Sorry.
Thanks so much, Katie. I've heard you, Chris and Charlie speak, and according to your talk, I think you'd have drank with any one of us, to be quite honest. You're coming up on 40 years, and 40s, you talked about the growth spurts, but 40s is a very spiritual number. It's mentioned a lot in that other book. And you talked about the spiritual guide. and my nephew had overdosed and was diagnosed brain dead. And our spiritual guide had us go speak God's word over him for 25 days, and he came out of it. He just celebrated 7 years of sobriety last month. And Bill Wilson talks about the spiritual kindergarten and how many of us run around here not knowing what power God has given us. He talks about entering the world of spirit, but we don't want to talk about that. We don't want people to think we've been rocketed or something. And the question now becomes, do we stand on that, or do we rely on the fellowship in Alcoholics Anonymous rather than the fellowship, capital F, of the Spirit, capital S? And you said you would give us your contact information. I saw someone else request it. Would you please put your phone number and email in the general chat so that we can get a hold of you and bombard you and distract you from your homework on Tuesday
I gotta
nights?
be honest with you. Teresa does that. I will do it individually, but I don't like to have my phone number and my email. Zoom made it way too easy. I could hand out my card at every talk I was at. I could hand out 300 of them and 2 people would follow through. But on Zoom, you guys jump on the bandwagon and it's a bit overwhelming for me. So if you shoot me a personal one, I'll do it. And no offense to anybody, but right now, if I got bombarded with 30 calls, it would, because I got to return all my calls. So I'm very, very, I take it really personal. But you know what I want to say about that is, in my spiritual growth, I have seen a lot of things that I'm not a big fan of in AA, right? I mean, come on, it's a bunch of, but I learned I call it the evangelical stage I was in. I'm gonna set the fellowship right, and they just are missing it. And what I didn't realize is I was them, right? I'm such a hypocrite. I was them at one time. And the truth is the book says I must grow in understanding and effectiveness. And that understanding and effectiveness, I can't punch in the nose or it's ineffective, right? No drunk is going to let you say that you're doing it wrong and we're doing it right. I think Chris Raymer's the only one who could pull that off. And even at that, he catches a lot of heat. So I really believe that it's kind of like when I thought the 10th step was the evening review, and I'm watching these guys argue and everything. And I wish somebody would have just raised their hand and said, golly, you know what, guys, I thought the 10th step was the evening review. I wasn't doing it anyway, but I come to find out on the bottom of the page right here, it says that, and you kind of guide people into letting them see it a different way. It's never been effective. No, there's not one drunk I've ever met that I can come at them and go, I'm not going to stand down on the God thing and I'm not going to do this. Now I'm saying it in my head, but otherwise I'm going to say, well, you know what, you get to dance on your own path. But I can tell you, with my experience in being an old timer, I had to take a 4-year-old girl down at a meeting not too long ago at a group conscience, and she did okay with it. But I pulled her aside afterwards and I said, I'm just baffled why you wouldn't ask an elder statesman that question before you came in here and drove it through the group conscience. And she started crying and I hugged her and I said, oh, hon, I'm always here for a conversation. It doesn't have to go like that. And that's what I think is the most important thing for us to do, is to show up as tolerant, kind, loving, and then guide that. And some fellowships, I'm just not meant to turn them around. And then I can positive prayer them into better existence. Oh, everybody's asking for my phone number. It's just bleep, 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 bleep. Ollie, you can go in there and, I guess they're personally sending it to, well, everybody's just going to have to hold them.
That's a beautiful way to end things. Thank you so